Hey y'all, this is Bewindi Bob, your lovely host with Empower to Empower You podcast. Listen, before you listen to the show, I wanted to quickly check in with you. Have you purchased the books Empowerment for You, Encouragement for Your Emotional and Spiritual Wellness, and the Empower to Empower You workbook? If you have not, please visit bewindi.com and get your resources today. You can also find those on Amazon. You could just search my name, Bewindi Bob, and they will come up. If you have received and if you have purchased those resources, those amazing resources for you, would you do me a favor? Would you write a review on Amazon and share how these books have been a blessing to you, how they've added value to your lives? I really want to hear from you. How are the books helping you? What are you learning from the books? Share your takeaways with me. Share it on the review. Listen, I would love for you to do that for me. And also, don't forget to rate and review the podcast. All right, let's get to the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Empower to Empower You podcast. This is your lovely host, Ms. Bewindi Bob. Thank you, thank you, thank you once again for tapping into the podcast. You could be listening to any other episode right now, but I am so thankful you decided to spend some time with me. By the time you hear this podcast, it will be probably, hopefully, warmer, and the weather atmosphere may probably be more stable. Hopefully, we're just hoping, okay? If you've listened to the previous episode, which was 108, it was about thinking about travel social work with Angela Thompson. I am so glad that I got to interview her and have a conversation with her. And y'all, please go back and listen to this episode. Let me just say this. If you've been rocking with me since January 2020, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I want to remind my new listeners, this podcast, Empower to Empower You, is about all things Jesus Christ, mental health, wellness, anything to help you be the better version of yourself. I'm always about service. I do want to say this cannot replace the need for therapy. This cannot replace the need for salvation. If you need a therapist, please seek professional assistance. I'm all about investing in your emotional wellness, your spiritual wellness, your physical wellness, your overall wellness. Okay. So I want to welcome you to episode 109. 109, y'all. 109. And listen, y'all better be ready. Okay. This episode is entitled, Let's Talk About Abstinence. Did she say the word? She did. Abstinence. I have a wonderful host, another social worker. For those of you who don't know, March is recognized as National Social Workers Month. And so I'm loving it that the last couple of guests have been social workers, and this is another social worker. And her name is Giavante Douglas. She is a mom, just a beautiful woman, a wife, an entrepreneur, and a licensed social worker. She's from Brownsville, Tennessee, and lives in Memphis with her high school sweetheart, beautiful daughters. And as a social worker, she engages in many career opportunities to enhance her clinical skills. And she has a passion for fashion. I love that. Passion for fashion and women empowerment, which led her to her women's clothing boutique, 10-7-11 Fashion Boutique. And she strives to create a world where women feel bold, authentic, and are rebellious to the status quo through the products and services that she provides. Listen, I want to welcome Ms. Giavante to this podcast. Hey, Ms. Giavante.
Hey, and hey, everyone listening. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you. So tell us a little bit more about, your story in terms of, let's start with why you love being a social worker since the Social Workers Month. Let's start there.
So I love to be a social worker. The obvious question that we all say is, oh, because I like to help people,
Right,
that's
right.
social. Yet we only can help those that want to be helped. And so my passion with social work is the helping process, to be able to, have this audacious goal for someone. And they're like, girl, woman, what are you talking about?
Yes.
Not my reality, that's not my environment. That's not my future. That's not my generational legacy that behind me or my generational line, that's not what we do. That's not what we're about. But being able to work with them, and all they have to have like is just that little bit of hope that it's possible, and be able to take that and shine that light in that tunnel, and they see like, oh my God, there is so much potential in this tunnel. It was just not always dark with that little light at the end. Like it is so that I can do and so much more that I can be. And that's what I love about social work. Like
I
that,
love that.
be able to shift the mindset, shift perspectives, provide new lights. And we are just flexible. It is the only job that you can do everything that you want to do with one degree.
I love it. The sky is not the limit with being a social worker for sure. So I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, ma'am. So the topic is let's talk about abstinence. And so I want you to just kind of take it away. If you want to start with just your story about, just even were you taught about abstinence? And we'll define that. I mean, we know what it means, but for people, I want to give some scriptural references as well for my audience. But just start with wherever you feel led to start about where were you taught about this as a child, and so on and so forth.
So for me, my parents are from Chicago, Illinois, and so I'm the oldest child. And for me, it was just more so taught like you need to be independent. Relations was very big. And it was also taught, you got to go to college, you got to do this. We didn't really talk much about sex. Mm-hmm. And so as we know in the Black community, your hair is more sacred than your virginity. Mm-hmm. You cut your hair off, you can be, wiped away from the family throne or whatever, you can just be taken out. Yet virginity was just seen as something like, oh, it was bound to happen. Or, especially with young girls, you just being fast. Girls are called fast at 5 years old when they don't even know what's going on. Yeah. And so it was just something that was just never really like a big deal for my whole household. And then as we got older, my mom ended up raising, some of my cousins, and they tend to be a little bit older. And so then that's when the talk starts to happen, where it was like that open communication. Okay, I cannot stop y'all. Y'all gonna do what you want to do, but all I ask is that you let me know so we can go through the proper protocols. We can go get you on birth control, so that way you don't, kind of mess up your life in a sense and have a baby at a young age. It's so much other possibilities out there than just, getting pregnant or getting an STD. And then with me being from a small town, Brownsville, we had like this class one year. We had wellness class, and then we had this program where somebody came in and the thing was no ringy, no dingy. And so it was really good. And then I think what stuck with me was like 1 out of 3 girls saved themselves to the ring. And that was like a low number. It was like, what? 1 out of 3? Like, that is crazy. And so that kind of stuck with me. And then later on, we had these 2 amazing husband and wife that would take us to these Christian camps, and also would just be with us and teach us about God, would also do different things to help the people in the community and stuff. And so one year I went to one of those camps, and it was just faith-based. It was just kids praising God. It was out in Brunson, Missouri. It was like a melting pot. It was so many cultures. We all went to this camp. There was no Wi-Fi. There was no internet. You had no access to anything. Like if your parents wanted you, they had to mail you a letter. And if they decided to, send you some snacks, your favorite snacks, you was not getting those snacks because we was in the cabins and they didn't want the bugs and stuff. But you was just out there with them for like a whole week. And then you learn about God, you sing from sun up to sundown. They have recreational activities and stuff. And so that's when it started to like brew about, okay, abstinence, saving yourself some marriage. Like it really was getting hard on and more concrete, like, oh, this is possible. It's more people that's out there doing it. And it's more to it than just, what everybody's making it seem like. And one of my coaches, she was like, I don't want to mess it up, but she was older. Like she was like either 30 to like 40. And she was like, I'm still a virgin. I am saving myself for that right guy. And she was like, your body is your temple. Your body is sacred to you. You don't just let anybody in there. This is your safe place. Save it for the person that, you're going to be with forever. And so like hearing her story and like seeing that different perspective for her to be an adult and still have not, had sex yet, it was like, wow, well, maybe that's something that I can do. I can have control over. And they gave us this card that was like an ATM card. And it looked just like a credit card. And then on that card, it was like ATM, abstinence to marriage, you sign your name on it. And that was like that vow to that. And so I signed it. And I had the intentions, okay, I'm gonna save myself to marriage. And then it did come times where, that peer pressure. Because, prom night, everybody talks about that and everybody talks, oh, this was gonna happen at prom, you get the hotel, you get all this stuff. And so me knowing and what my mama instilled in me, I had the conversation. And we had the conversation. And so I did go get on birth control. Just for that precautious, because it's like, well, you kind of still trying to find yourself, trying to fit in. You're going with the peer pressure, you're going with, what everyone else is doing. We went to prom and everything, but it just didn't happen. I must say that my husband, he is just like so humble, so sweet. He never pressured me. He never pushed me. He never like forced me to do anything I did not want to do. And so I feel like that too just took like so much weight off of me that I did not have to do something that, I did not know about or I was, unsure about. Like it wasn't like, oh, I had to do this because I'm digging him so much that, I got to do this to keep him with me. So I think that kind of pushed us through. And then he too went to some of those camps. So for him, it was like, okay, whatever you want to do. If you don't want to, we don't have to. If you want to, we can. And so when it got to that point, it was just like, okay, so that's something I don't have to worry about. And so we kept dating through high school, through college. Then he went off to the military and he proposed to me. We ended up getting married, doing the wedding, and still, like, I want to say like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he probably said a month, we still hadn't had sex yet. Wow. Like it was just so much for me. Like that was like a big piece, because that's the only thing like I felt I had full control over. And then it was so scary. Like I don't understand how people can do that with so many different people, because it's so scary to just completely give your whole self to someone that, you have no idea about. Mind you, I've been with him since high school. We all the way in Hawaii in our first home together, because we never lived together. Before we got together, we both was at our parents' house. And then so it was just awkward. It still was scary, because I'm like, what is this? What are we doing? Just all of that. And I'm like, Mom. And she's like, girl, you still have it? I'm like, no. Like, can we talk about something else? So I just think too, like being able to see a new perspective and see how, someone else shine like that. This is my body. This is my temple. Like once it's gone, there's no way I can get that back. And so do I just want to give this to somebody who is just here for the season? Or do I want to give this somebody who I expect to be here, long term, lifetime, forever, to create, new life and new perspectives as well? So I think that like all of that kind of led to like my choice of why I decided to just stay on that path of well, I'm a hold it and I'm gonna keep it to myself because it's mine and it's sacred to me.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like sex is very not only intimate, but it's very sacred. Because once you allow someone else into you, it then becomes a soul tie.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm connected to my husband. Being able to go through that transition and those stages of life with him, I feel like I'm connected. Like, all I have to do is think about him, and my body can feel a certain way. Or I can be somewhere and I get a whiff of his smell or something. Or if I'm having a bad day and I think about something, it can trigger something within the body. He can be somewhere and he can say something. And if that something triggers something in me, it just connect. And who wants somebody to have that much control over you if you're not going to be with them lifelong,
Yeah.
So if I had to do it again, I will do it again and wait, because the connection, not only the intimate connection and sexual connection, I have a more mental connection with my husband. Like, in physical connection, like, I feel like we are like one being. Like, when they say you take two people and make one, I feel like we are fully one and we are on one accord. We we are completely, let's be very clear, day and night. I am night and I am fire and he is that, his peak. So we are definitely, yin and yang, yet out of all the differences, we are so similar. And that could be many reasons. But I'm just gonna say, me saving myself for him and him saving himself for, me or whoever he, we decided was the best, because nobody was advanced. Nobody was right. Nobody was wrong. It was, no one was higher than the other, because we're both learning together. We're both, and then another thing too, we're not bringing in past traumas into something that we're trying to create. Because there's no comparison. There's no, what it should be or what it is. Because at this point, we both have the game field is level. The playing field is just equal. And we're both just here to explore and learn each other. And, just navigate together as husband and wife, newlyweds, and then going through every stage of life together, but at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, I could just end the podcast right there. Like, okay, y'all, thank you for listening. Because I thank you for sharing this story. It's so sad that we have to begin to go back to normalizing sex before marriage. We have to begin to normalize sex before marriage. And whether a person who's listening is a Christian or not, what you're saying is facts. You didn't have to deal with, first of all, let me go back. I'm so glad that you had those experiences. And even if your parents did not say, hey, no sex before marriage, but they had conversations with you about, if you are, protect yourself, think about what you're doing. But I'm so thankful for the faith camps and being around people who talked about abstinence and the beauty. It wasn't like, don't have sex, right? Because a lot of times we hear that in church or we hear that, but we don't hear, okay, that's it. Like,
No,
why? Why am I not?
And then
Yeah.
I think, like, the icing on the cake had to be that woman who was an adult, who was passionate and from her heart how she is saving herself for marriage. And there was some people who was like, who had not.
Right.
Yet to hear that and her to speak on that, it was like, I want that.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
want that. I want to be able to give that to my husband.
Wow.
That for my husband to know deep down in his heart that I am the only one for him. And he is the only one for me. Just that whole piece that no one else can tell you they had me.
Yeah. That
No
is
one
so cool. Wow.
can say that or to be like that, because that you was the only one for me.
Yes. Yes. And there's a reason, I just have to I had to give some scriptural references because it's so important to incorporate the word. But 2 Timothy 2:22 says, "Run from anything that stimulates youthful lust. Instead, pursue righteous living, faithfulness, love, and peace." And then 1 Corinthians 6:18 says, "Run from sexual sin, because no other sin clearly affects the body as this one does." Right? And then Hebrews 13:4 says, "Marriage is honorable and the bed undefiled." And the things that can defile a marriage bed is fornication, adultery, all those things. And so when you mention, I don't think people understand the seriousness, no matter what you believe faith wise, but the seriousness and the implications of giving your body to several people and being soulishly tied to so many spirits, and how many spirits, and you taking on the personalities and the people that they slept with and the people that they slept with, whether it's the same sex or whether it's just all the stuff that comes into that process. It's messy, and it
That
requires.
that is exactly it. It's
Yeah,
that whole holistic approach. Religion has
yeah,
nothing to do
yeah,
with, you
yeah.
know, being able to save yourself from marriage. Because not only like, and because it's social work month, we talk about the generational traumas
Right.
and that whole baggage that you have. But let's talk about the baggage of all these multiple partners that you have had who you are carrying into your new marriage, and you wonder why it's not working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because maybe your husband or your wife may not have the skills that Keisha or Tom had, and so now you're comparing, you're making that comparison. Or maybe Keisha was so toxic that she left some of that toxicity with you, and you have not cleansed the body. You have not got rid of the things that was in her that she had put in you. And so now everything that she was doing to you, you starting to show up into your spouse, and you wondering why is this resentment, or why is it this way? And it's because you are carrying those toxic traits that you left a relationship because of with you, because you guys are so tied, because
Yeah.
y'all reached that level of intimacy where you guys connected
Mhm.
internally and at the soul.
Mhm.
Just
And you,
because you're not with
yeah.
them physically with the body,
Mhm.
but the soul is still attached because you haven't done the work to release that toxic and
Yeah.
those that connection.
Mhm.
And it amazes me so much that when we talk about sex,
Mhm.
people cannot connect that. Yet when we talk about the years of slavery and how that generation pain is still going through our blood and still going through our, genetics, we forget that the sex is just the same as that as well.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
very important that, don't just give yourself to someone, like you really need to feel like that person is worthy of you,
Mhm.
and worthy of all that you have to offer, because you too are a powerful being.
Mhm.
You too have, things to offer, things to bring to the table, and things to put forward. And
Mhm.
so do you want to give all of you to someone who is only giving you half or a quarter?
Right. Absolutely not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What would you say to the person? Of course, there may be people who are listening, and they may say, "Okay, I know that you don't mind being called Gia or Giavante." Well, what would you say to the people who are listening, and they're hearing you, and they're hearing this podcast, and they're like, "Okay, wait. I've messed up. I did not do it the abstinent way. I have had multiple sex partners, and I'm hearing you say this, and I need to." We don't want. There's no. First of all, let me just say, there's no condemnation. There's no guilt. There's none of that. But what would you say to the person who did not start out that way, but wants to make a change?
So the first thing, because there's no right or wrong way in life. We just have actions, and we just have to deal with the consequences of our actions. No way is the right way. the thing is that we have to fail to realize is that when we become more knowledgeable and we become more aware, that's when we decide, okay, is this the path I want to go, or do I want to continue in the path that I have been going? Mm-hmm. So if you truly self-reflect on your life and your past, especially those sexual relationships, and you feel like you have been targeting this type of behavior that is not marriage-like, that is not going to create that generational legacy, that is not going to move you forward to the generational wealth because of some of the actions that you have been doing, then maybe it's time for a change. Maybe that change be, you do not give your goods away, right up front. One night stand, second date, or something, whatever the case may be. Start to reflect on everything. What is it that you was doing that kind of, because if we be really honest, especially when we in deep reflection, we would know when we messed up, yet we continue to do it because, we don't hold ourselves accountable for our actions. Right. Oh, it'll be okay. It'll be, I figured out later. Yeah, if we be authentic to ourselves and self-reflect and hold ourselves accountable, then we know where we need to make the changes at. And so that's going to be the piece is once you're open to it, you just start to self-reflect on what you are doing and see what is needed, because my path may not be your path. Yet the path that you take next could be the possible best path for you. And so that's just all that matters, doing things that is best for you to help you get to your ultimate goal. And when we talk about that ultimate goal, only you know what you want. Do you want a provider? Do you want someone who's going to drop everything for you? Do you want someone who's going to put you first? Do you want someone who's going to be the head? Do you want someone who is going to be able to not only carry you, when you fall, but also walk side by side with you as well? And I feel like that's the most important part, because and for me, my husband, he can walk side by side by me. He can allow me to lead as well. And then also when I feel like I cannot go further, he is there to uplift me and carry me to my destination and, provide positive affirmation and pour into me and let me know that now I have got you here. You can finish the race or whatever you need to finish. And so if you notice the behaviors that you have been doing is not pushing you to those type of people, it's not because, I just attract these type of people. No, your behavior, your actions track these types of individuals. So until we are able to change that, then that's when things will be able to change.
That's so good. And even for the people that are in, relationships where their significant other is encouraging sex before marriage, and it's really hard because, because of what your experiences and because of the choices that you and your husband made, now you can share that gem with your daughters. You can encourage, you can share that story. And what's beautiful is that when you were younger, you didn't even imagine that this would be the story that you'll be able to use to share with other people, right? And so for people that are in relationships and maybe that person is encouraging sex before marriage, I think what you just stated is the same message, unless you had anything to add to that.
Yes, and I do apologize. The siren is going off. It's 12 o'clock.
I don't hear it. It's fine. Okay. No, you're fine. I don't hear it. Yeah.
So, and with that too, I never thought I'll have two daughters. I only thought I would have one. And then so God blessed me with two. And I did cry because I was like, how am I handle two girls? Like, I'm enough. One is enough. Yeah. And so to be able to have two girls and then not only show them that your body is your temple, like this is your kingdom. You are the queen. You are the ruler, because I'm raising queens. They're going to be able to conquer. They're going to be able to handle, maintain, and sustain a kingdom, whether there's a king present or if it's just a one woman queen. And so teaching them that you do not ever have to, diminish who you are, or, cut yourself short because of someone else that is requiring you to do something. And so I think just by me being able to save myself to marriage and finding my husband who was willing to go on this journey with me, we both being able to save ourselves, has provided the foundation for our girls, provided the opportunity for them to see, both complete difference. Also going into like alpha egos in a sense, alpha male, alpha female, to see how these two beings who are on, two separate paths in terms of, well, I'm going this way with my career in life and I'm going this way, yet they make it work to mesh together. No one is over the other. Is that too loud?
You're fine. Go ahead. You're fine.
Okay, no one is over the other, and they just working together. They're supporting each other. They're, mom, in some areas, mom can't do it. It will have to be dad. In some areas, dad can't do it. It will have to be mom. In most areas, mom and dad have to do it together.
Yes.
And to see that dynamics, it's like, that's what I need.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want. Because I think it's so important for them to be able to see mom don't have to be, that whole angry Black woman in the sense that we are stereotyped to be. Yeah. Mom could be as vulnerable. Mom could be as peaceful. Mom also gives me love. The whole piece of mom can give me her whole self because she didn't have to diminish herself for dad or for someone else. And that's a whole nother story. But that how we are, how some of us as Black women are in competition with our daughters because of the relationship with their fathers.
Yep.
And so I feel like there's no competition because there's like, I don't have as much as I have to give to him, I have to give to you. And then what you have between you and your dad, there's nothing that I can give to that.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's beautiful.
So it's just all of that to be able to show them like new perspectives and new, new ways to try. They don't have to go down our same pathway, but at least I can show them the example, because with my daughters, I'm the first teacher. I'm the first role model. And do I strive to be perfect? Of course. Am I perfect? No.
Right.
I want them to be able to say, mom did her very, very best.
Yes.
Because many times we talk about, oh, I did the best that I can. Honestly, those are just words for some of us, because we did not.
Yes, that's
we did the best that we knew how.
That's right.
That was the best that we can. And so I'm providing this space that I'm going to do the best that I can. Because when I do not know, that is not an excuse for me to, eliminate what I need to offer you. That means I need to do something, to do more, to educate, to be better, to give to you. And so with all of that, I'm just creating two little magnificent queens. And I just hope the world is ready, because they just gonna be outstanding.
Yes. Wow. And they'll be able to hear this podcast, with their mom sharing the story, right? Well, let's kind of skip. Thank you so much for sharing. This is so dynamic and it's so real and so pure and genuine. I don't even want to add too much to it. I don't even want to add any editorial opinions. I want to leave it as is for people to really digest and reflect on what you're saying. So I'm just gonna skip down and just ask you, I'm gonna change gears a little bit as we wrap up. How do people tell us how you serve? How do you serve people today? What are some reasons that people should contact you, and how can they contact you?
So, and like in my bio, I said I do many things, and I do because I am a servant to who others. Like, the only way for me to fulfill my debt to society is to give back to others and to serve. And so many times, I'm everywhere. So the best way to reach me is, social media. You can find me on social media. You can reach out to me that way. If it's more so where you're looking for the empowerment piece, I suggest that you reach out to me via my boutique, which is X7 SEVENXI.com, where you can even have the one-on-one like fashion consultations with me. You can also the clothes, and then I also have my self-published Sister Girl Don't Lose Yourself workbook, where you can have direct access to that workbook. You also can have, where you can contact me via email through that way. And then if you're just looking for someone to talk to, or just like, girl, I just want to be around you, just call me. Like, I'm here, I'm available. And then if I'm not available, I'll let you know, like, hey, I'm not available. Can we do this day, or can we do this day? Or I can send somebody that I know in place to help you out. Because again, it's all about networking, relationship building, and just being able to provide, space for others. I feel like that's the most important thing. Time is very valuable, yet giving somebody a piece of your time can change, their whole perspective, their whole outlook, just allowing, making somebody else happy. Kind of like when they say, just put a smile on someone else's face, just give somebody a little bit of your time.
What is your social media? What's your social media handles?
So my social media is, so on Instagram, it is IMAM Giavante, GIAVANTE. And then on Facebook is Gia Doug, so GIAH, and then Doug, DOUG.
Okay. And the book, Sister Girl Don't Lose Yourself, is it available on Amazon?
Yes, it's available on Amazon. It's also available through my website. You can also get it as a PDF interactive, where you can type into the PDF document, or you can have the paperback copy as well, where you can write it out. That is also available.
What is your website?
And my website is www.xsevenxi.com.
Awesome. And I'll get that from you. So I'll put it in the show notes. Well, Ms. Giavante, oh my gosh, thank you so much for giving your time, sharing your story, sharing some gems that just refreshing us with this message today about, your body being the temple, really focusing on choosing the actions that you take, focusing on reflecting on the behaviors that may be attracting some things in your life, and just messages, thinking about how our actions could affect our legacy. What story, I always want to think when I talk to some clients, what story do you want to share with your children? What story do you want to share with your niece and your nephew? How do you want to show up, for sure? So I really thank you for sharing that. Before we leave, is there any final 60-second final gem that you want to share?
First, I just want to say just thank you to everyone who is listening, and also thank you to you for allowing me to even share my story. And if anyone is listening and feeling like this is something that I cannot relate to, I can like, no, like this is too much. That is not it. Like, your story is your story. And at any time you can change your story. just like that generational trauma, that history that's in your family, you can change that. It begins with you. You just have to make the start. It doesn't matter how you start. It does not matter when you start. It does not matter how long it takes you to start. All it matters is that you start and begin the process to change whatever it is that you are not in love with, you are not happy with, you are not at peace with in your life. Just take the step. And if that step is just a baby step, that does not matter. Just begin.
Thank you
That's
so much. Yeah.
all.
Thank you so much. Well, y'all, you heard Miss Giavante. I'm going to put her information to contact her in the show notes. You want her to be in your circle. You will want to get her workbook. You will want to connect with her after you hear this episode. And I'll be back next time with an amazing episode, y'all. Have a great day and a great week on purpose. Talk to y'all soon.